My 2016 6.7 Powerstroke has been on the chopping block for an old school body swap, but in the meantime I have started doing a lift kit from BDS with the Fox Coilovers, and right now I have one side with the BDS 4-link 4-inch kit, and the other side still has a 3.5-inch ReadyLift. So this is an $800 lift that was on it. I'm putting about an $8,000 lift here that I have spec'd out with all the options plus some other accessories from Fox. So right now the two different sides don't exactly line up, so I have a 3/8 socket extension shoved in the radius on there, holding up about 1/4 of the weight of this front end. So I'm about to drop this thing down, see if this socket can actually hold the weight of this 6.7 diesel. It's got some weight reduction without any body on it. It is still factory emissions, not that kind of weight reduction. But I'm gonna try to drop this thing down, flip it around, do the other side of the lift, and while I have it out of the way, I'm gonna bring the 1967 truck in here, take the body off, and get that thing ready to be swapped over. So let's check it out. Here's my setup to loosen the ratchet strap and drop the axle down a little bit using the floor jack and the old steering part here to get this thing lowered down about an inch. You can see I got to get this hole to line up there. So my strap's too tight and it has a lot of tension on it. So I'm gonna take a little weight off, loosen it some. I got this wrapped through so it doesn't come sliding out real fast. Hopefully I don't drop this thing. See what happens. So now, lower this down a little bit, see how low it wants to go. That's almost there right there. Before I drop this thing down and put the tires back on, I want to take this opportunity to compare the two sides of the lift. You can see it really well here with the 4-link, and I'm going to kind of walk around, show that other side that still has the radius arms with drop brackets. You may hear my kids playing outside. It's a beautiful day. After winter, it's nice to get the sun out, have the doors open, and have some lighting in here. So with that, this is the 4-inch 4-link coilover kit from BDS, and I've kind of optioned it with everything. You don't have to get the 4-link to get the coilovers. You don't have to get the coilovers to get the 4-link. So I've got both options there. You don't even have to run a shock here, but I've got a external reservoir shock here. So we got all kinds of shock action happening. Just wanted to look the part, be really capable. And I'm also gonna weld in some Fox bump stops, which I've got over here. Let me grab one of those real quick. This rig here that I'm grabbing stuff out of is a 1967 truck I've got coming up to be working on as well. Not the one that's getting the body on here, but this is a really cool old patina truck that is storing all my parts right now and has virtually no rust, just has a little bit of surface rust on it. So these bump stops from Fox are gonna end up in here as well. I haven't got a chance to do that yet before I wanna start doing the body swap, but we are gonna rig this in here somewhere. You guys can see that. This will end up in there in the factory location for the bump stop, which I've removed, and it's gonna strike the axle just like factory. I just have to weld in a bracket for that at some point. Also with this, I'm doing a complete rear leaf spring replacement. So you can see my new leaf springs back here. I had those repowder coated because I wanted everything to match. I've had a couple different shades of black on here, but as you can see now between my 4-link, the Eastwood rust encapsulator, and chassis black, which I'll show you the can of that in a little bit. But that stuff is making everything all match nice and black. You can see I've done the front axle with that as well. And here's again a before and after. This is what the axle looked like prior to me doing that. So this is chipping, rusty, really nasty, and I've got a paint line there of tape where I have redone this, and I'm really excited about how that's coming along. I'm gonna replace the brakes and a few other parts, including the whole front end with kryptonite products. I've got an entire box of kryptonite front end, and I've done an unboxing video of all this stuff. So really stoked on that. To get back to what this truck came with, had a pretty decent ReadyLift kit on it, but you can see how everything's looking over here that I haven't touched yet. Factory coil spring with a ReadyLift spacer. It also has just Rancho shocks on it with an extension. So I think that's the original shock. And then here's the extension bracket. So everything has brackets. You can see the anti-sway bar has a drop bracket, which that's pretty standard for lift kits. And I know this isn't oriented right, but I'm replacing all the steering and it's just kind of there for now. So I'm gonna be getting longer end links for this. and put this back in the factory location. So that's something I'm doing with Kryptonite as well. Replacing a whole front end drag link, you know, your tie rod assembly, as well as the track bar. So that's all going to be new and mostly adjustable. Here's what the original bump stop looked like. So we'll get that Fox gas pump stop in there. We got new U-joints, hubs, all kind of good stuff. So this thing's going to be totally redone, but here's what it looked like when I got it from the salvage auction. Nothing too crazy here, pretty standard stuff. Here's the drop bracket for the radius arm, so factory radius arm with a drop bracket to get it down low enough for the 3.5 inch spacer. So that's how that is done on the cheaper side, but it definitely works. And you can compare that over here to the 4-link. Really trick setup over here. No spacers for anything. We've got, you know, the full coil over here for your lift, as well as there's some adjustment here. This is at the lowest setting right now. With it at 4 inches, you could get this to sit like a 6-inch lift. It's a very similar kit to their 6-inch. It's got massive drop brackets for your track bar, as well as the pitman arm is a new dropped pitman arm, which I'll show you what the other one looked like. So this is the BDS drop pitman arm. Drops at about 4 inches. You can compare that to the straight flat one that was on there from the factory and was retained with the 3.5 inch ReadyLift. So as you can see, that's going to help our angles a lot better. It'll be going straight across parallel to the axle compared to being at a real steep angle. So pretty stoked to point that out. So everything is accounted for the steering with this kit, as well as a few upgrades to just make it look and perform a little better, like completely replacing the rear leaf springs instead of having this massive lift block in here. So really excited about that. You can see the crusty old leaf springs in here. I'm excited to replace those with the nice black ones I've got over there. With that, I've powder coated the rear drive shaft as well, and I have a brand new front drive shaft that is nice and black. So this thing is going to look really sweet. We got powder coated trans cross member, as well as a skid plate that goes over here somewhere that I've taken off right here where this lift is sitting right here. There's a transfer case skid plate that's nice and freshly powder coated in the back of the white truck. So that's that. Here's my socket that is holding this together, because as you may be able to see, that does not line up anymore, and that's because the 4-link is correcting the angle of my pinion here slightly for the lift, whereas the radius arm drop bracket had a slightly different, you know, angle on it. And I'm excited to get this thing together, but I really wanted to compare it left to right just like this. So I've done it halfway. Normally you go ahead and do the full lift at once, and while I'm at it and I'm comparing it, I decided why not, you know, do it like this, drop it down, pull it out of the shop, flip it around and pull it in, and then I'll be working right here instead of over there. I think it'll be about the same, a little bit closer to my toolbox, but I'll be up against the wall either way because of where I've got my lift in here, but I think that's going to be easier. So now I need to get this thing up in the air a little higher, get my massive square body Suburban thing over here that's on 40s under it a little bit to get room to move my van so I can rearrange everything out in the yard. So we've got a 2-door parts truck cab over here that's just for some roof and windows and stuff. Pretty cheap truck I picked up, but it's in the way of my van moving. So I need to get all this stuff rearranged so that I can get this black truck in here. This is the 1967 crew cab that I am putting this body on. This is the body for the old truck. Now that being said, this thing runs and drives. It's just super rusty. Let's see if I can get it to start up. Oh, we got a dead battery. So she needs a little love, and it's going to get that 6.7 diesel. So with that, I thought my battery would be good in that. I might not have it connected right now. We'll see. But this truck here is going to end up being torn all apart and swapped onto that, and I'm going to be using some parts for it to get this thing up and running. So I'll have a rusty looking old truck with old engine, and then a nice shiny new diesel with the old school body. Real quick, I want to mention, in addition to the super sketchy extension I have shoved in there, I have my lift all whopper jawed right now. I've got this arm is really short and really far back on the frame. As you can see, the other one is in the right spot where I wanted it, that I've meticulously put just right there in between the radius arm there. It was kind of hard to get it there, but nice and even on that side to pick up this heavy 6.7 diesel. But in order to get the 4-link on, I had to move this one back, and I'm not stoked on how it's holding it right now because there is a lot of force on this side, this particular arm. But I'm going to go ahead and get it up in the air, roll this thing forward, try to move my van around, and then see if I can swap all this stuff around. Ever so gentle. Alright, we are on the locks. So I've got just enough room, I think, to pull this truck forward a little bit. I'm probably just going to roll it by hand instead of starting it up so I don't run into this thing and knock it all down. So try to move this thing a little bit and then get that van out of the way. We'll get this stuff flipped around. Here's an example of how much leverage these 40s have over these axles. You can see how easy it is to roll this thing. Oh, my pumpkin, my jack-o'-lantern on the front's gonna hit first. Okay, that's probably all I got. That might be all I need. I don't want to take my pumpkin off. Yeah, we'll go with that. So we got a couple rigs moved out of the way, and while little man was napping, ran to O'Reilly's and got some new batteries because the Suburban was dead, as well as the 6.7 Powerstroke. They've both been sitting in here since October with the batteries hooked up most of the time. I did think about how long I was going to be sitting here and disconnect these, but it was too late. So these expensive Ford batteries were toast, but they were under warranty, 36-month warranty on these, so I was able to swap out those. And then for the Chevy, I bought a Superstart Premium, and this one I went with one that has two options of installing it. So you got this post or the side post, because my old side post one in here, I was annoyed that I never was able to swap that one onto other trucks and recharge it whenever this thing sits for a while. So now this battery will go in any of my trucks, so I'm pretty excited about that. I had to pay, close to $200 probably for that one, so at least I'll be able to use it in more than one vehicle. So with that, I'm gonna get this battery in, as well as the new cable that I bought, because one of them was looking kind of kinked and worn out, so that goes to the alternator. So I'll get that battery in here, hopefully fire this thing up, move it out of the way, and then I'll just have to connect these batteries, slap on the tires, and get this one out too. Just took the old Bourbon out to stretch its legs. It's got a few quirks still from the accident, like the radiator is leaking coolant and water right now, but runs pretty decent. It's a worn out 350, but I did slap a rebuilt Monster transmission in it with their Super Duty package. It's a 700 R4 automatic trans, and it's got overdrive and everything, and this thing rips down the road, but it still stops like a brick. So with that, it has a few more upgrades I want to do, like replacing the axles with some 8-lug and some bigger brakes. But this thing's pretty fun, and my young son enjoys it a lot, so I had to take it out.
Whoa.
Yeah, there's a boat over there. Yeah, this thing is a lot of fun. It's full of junk. It's got a bent axle in the back from the wreck, but it's a good time. All right, dude, you're driving. Straight. Yeah, that's pretty much, we're going straight right now with that much turning. Okay, let's keep it over this way a little bit. There you go. Alright, see if I can line this up pretty decent with the lift. So I already went a little bit high with it. With 42s, you got to make your life easier wherever you can. So I'm going to drop that down here. There we go. The lift is sighing in relief after having this big old truck on it since October. And it's like the 1st of March now, so I think it's pretty excited to have a break. All right, we got 4 tires back on this thing, 2 new batteries, and 5-year-old diesel fuel in the tank. And we're gonna see if this thing will fire up. Hopefully we don't have any issues thanks to our AirDog lift pump that is filtering out that nasty old fuel. And I've treated it with Hot Shot Secret at like a triple dose, but we'll see. This thing sat a lot. I have been adding new fuel to it, but some of the fuel is super old. And I have a factory CP4 pump, so that's one of the things I need to replace. But let's see what she'll do with the new batteries. Wait for it. Wait for it. Precision right there. I stopped that thing this far away from the axle. All right, let me pull her out the rest of the way. Got the 2 67s lined up next to each other. Needed full attention to get this thing in here with no brakes without running into anything. And I forgot to get the camera rolling, but we got it in here. I backed it up this far. I let the clutch out, turned the key off, and used reverse to just let it roll to a stop pretty much without hitting that wall. So that went pretty well. Looks like we are pretty well lined up, I'd say, left to right. So I'm gonna push this thing back, get it on the lift, get this cab off. All right, we're in and I can close the door. All right, y'all, I've got some organizing to do tonight. I threw everything kind of over in my working corner to make this happen, but got the 67 here ready to have the cab pulled off. This has been a long time coming to get this truck swapped onto that diesel frame. I've still got the white patina 67 sitting here. We got the diesel truck pulled in. It fits. I can close the door. And then outside in the external shop space, we've got the topless bourbon here, ready to hopefully not get rained on. And then the van here that I'm using for the roof repair of my rusty 67 and a few other plans I have for that. So got it all out here. I've got some room here for more junk, and I do have one truck in the back lean-to area. So we have pretty much maxed out my neighborhood little house here, or little yard, excuse me, in a normal neighborhood, and I'm pretty excited about that. So we're making good use of it. I do have to do like the full shuffle anytime I swap up what I'm doing, but these things need to get run. You know, batteries will die, fluids and everything. You got to start them up every now and then anyway. So they all pretty much run except for that white one. And once we get the motor yanked out of this black truck, we'll be sorting that out, putting it in here. In conclusion, we did manage to flip this truck around without breaking that 3/8 extension. That thing is still in there. Here, I'll come down here and show you. And you can see I'm on the ReadyLift side here, so that'll be easy access. There's my extension still in place, holding this thing strong enough to turn around and back up, make about a 20-point turn. Didn't break. I was confident in it, but I felt it was pretty sketchy, so I wanted to include that in this video. So with that, y'all please come back, check out how taking this cab off the 67 goes. Check out Grappaholics.com if you want to pick up any of our merch and support all this craziness here. and be sure to check us out on Instagram, Facebook, and all that. So thanks a lot. I'll see you next time.